SEC previews roll on. My name is Matt Smith, and today we're going to talk about the Kentucky Wildcats. They were a 5-6 team last year, went 4-6 in the 10-game SEC schedule. Overall, a pretty good year. Won the bowl game against NC State to finish 5-6. They kind of just beat the teams they were supposed to beat. They knocked off three teams that fired their head coaches: South Carolina, Tennessee, Vanderbilt. So not great wins there. Totally shut down Mississippi State. I think that was 24-2 when they met in their annual against the Bulldogs. But lost to the better teams on their schedule. Lost to Georgia, lost to Florida, Alabama, Auburn. Lost to Missouri for the first time in about 5 or 6 years. That's usually the swing game between a good season and a bad season for the Wildcats, it seems like. So overall, an okay year without the three easy wins they usually schedule for themselves in the non-conference. The record doesn't look great, of course, but that was everybody last year in 2020. Back to normal times in 2021. We'll get to the schedule here later, and you can see it scrolling across your screen now. But to start, just a quick 30,000-foot level, Kentucky's about as stable as a program as there is in this league, aside from Alabama. You can count on them to get 6 wins pretty much every year. They had the 9-3 season a few years back. Is that a one-off? Probably, which gives the ceiling about 8 wins. But I feel very confident this team's going to finish somewhere between 6-6 and 8-4. Kind of tip of my hand there about what my prediction will be coming up later in the video. But that's where I'm thinking with this Kentucky team. Obviously, the big change this year, they moved on from Eddie Grant at offensive coordinator, went to the NFL route. We're seeing that a lot across the league this year in terms of coordinator openings being filled by NFL assistants. We'll get to those throughout this video series here and touch on each one of those. But for Kentucky, they went with Liam Cohen. He worked under Sean McVay with the Rams, who's developing a pretty nice coaching tree for a guy who's only about 35 years old. When he comes over, going to hope to resurrect this Kentucky passing game, which has been pretty dormant now for a while now, most of the entire Mark Stoops era. So we'll see how that goes. His first decision is going to be settling on a quarterback. He's got 3 options. None have played a ton of football. Will Levis was a backup at Penn State. He's a transfer. He just got there in the summer, so he did not go through spring practice. So he's going to be a bit behind the other 2 guys. Joey Gatewood, he's a transfer from Auburn, but he was there last year, saw a little bit of time. Then the young guy, redshirt freshman Bo Allen. So it's going to be one of those 3 guys. It's hard to handicap this at all. I would just be guessing if I picked a winner here, so I'm not even going to bother doing that. It's a legitimate 3-way race. We'll see how that shakes out. They're a bit different. Levis was used more of a runner, change-up guy at Penn State. Allen's probably your more traditional passer per se. Maybe Gatewood's a hybrid of the other 2. But it's hard to make a call at this point. So we'll see how they roll out on September 4th. If they do a combination of quarterbacks, if they do name one guy and stick with them, we'll see. A decent chance Kentucky does play multiple quarterbacks this year, but it will be interesting to see kind of how that passing game evolves. As far as the rest of the offense, running back room is pretty good. It's Kentucky. They always got 2 guys you can rely on. No different this year. Chris Rodriguez, the number 1 guy, really talented, powerful runner, has some home run speed if he gets in the open field. And then Kavosiey Smoke behind him is a nice number 2 guy. So they're pretty good. And then the wild card is going to be Wan'Dale Robinson. He's a Kentucky native, started at Nebraska, kind of fizzled out there, and now transferred back home. You can call him a running back. You can call him a wide receiver. He's going to do both. His touches at Nebraska last year were pretty much 50-50 between receptions and runs. So he can do a lot of different things. So depending on what you call him, this running back room is really loaded. Or if you want to throw him in as a receiver, he's a nice complement to Josh Ali, who's probably their only real consistent proven performer at least at wide receiver for the Wildcats. As we know, that passing game has struggled for the past couple of years. Had Lynn Bowden out there as quarterback a couple of years ago, just running Wildcat. Last year, it never really got going. Terry Wilson has moved on to New Mexico. So we'll see if whoever the new quarterback is, with the combination of Liam Cohen and maybe a weapon like Robinson, can really jolt this passing attack. Offensive line, pretty good at tackle. Darian Kennard, one of the best in the league. He'll probably be the right tackle. And then add a late transfer out of the transfer portal. That's a theme with the Wildcats. They hit the portal hard with guys like Robinson, Levis, and Dare Rosenthal as well, left tackle from LSU last year, who's going to come in and probably bookend that along with Kennard. So that offensive line should be pretty good. Big loss with it. Drake Jackson was the center for the last couple years. Some replacements on the interior there, but overall a decent group who had a pretty good year last year. Front 7, no big stars in this group. You don't have your Bud Dupree, your Zadarius Smith, your Josh Allen. It's a decent group. They do need to be a little bit better against the run. They like Marquand McCall as the nose guard, big body there. Overall, the front 7, not a ton there. I think they'll be all right. But having to replace Jamin Davis at linebacker as well. pretty neutral on this group. Not too high, not too low. They'll be all right. Kentucky's defense is always formidable, but I don't see that true game changer like they've had at times over the past decade under Stoops. In the secondary, they were ball hawks last year. 16 picks. I believe that was good for number 3 in the FBS. 3 starters backs. That's a pretty good unit. Mark Stoops grew up as a DB coach in his early college football coaching years, so he takes a lot of pride in that secondary. I think they'll be pretty good. Special teams, kickers back, but they do lose Max Duffy, who was a pretty good punter for them. Taking a look at the schedule, obviously pretty light in the non-conference. You can't get 3 more easy non-Power 5 games than they have. ULM, new coach, winless last year. That's an easy win. Chattanooga's your FCS game. That's a win. And then New Mexico State, one of the worst teams in the FBS as well. So smart scheduling by the Wildcats. Don't test yourself with a team like Toledo or an App State or a G5 team that can come in and knock you off. Just get some guys who are going to whip 42-7 and move on, and they should be able to do that 3 times this year at least. In the conference schedule, their rotating game is LSU. They'll be back in Lexington for the first time since 2007 when LSU was number 1, went there and lost a memorable triple overtime game, an absolute classic. LSU, of course, rallied and went on to win the national title in that crazy 07 year. But this is their first trip up there to Lexington since 07. We know how stupid the SEC schedule is, with teams only going to certain venues in the opposite division once every 12 years. But this is the time LSU heads up there. Part of a big 2-game homestand for the Cats in early October. They'll get Florida on October 2nd. They'll get LSU on October 9th. Decent chance they're 4-0. They have that huge Week 2 game against Missouri. That's the one you're pointing to, where if they can get by that, then you can start thinking, hey, we're probably not going to get Georgia, but we have a legit shot to finish second, with Florida coming to town, with Missouri already taking care of business, with the rebuilds at South Carolina, Tennessee, and Vandy. So that is a massive Week 2 game, primetime SEC network at Commonwealth Stadium there in Lexington. So that's the one to watch. That's the swing game for them. Of course, they finished with Louisville. That game will be on the road in Louisville, but they've had some decent success there, including beating Lamar Jackson there in his Heisman year. So not too worried about that. Prediction-wise, as I said, I kind of tipped my hand earlier saying they're going to finish between 6-6 and 8-4 because they're such a low-variance team under Mark Stoops. So I am going right smack dab in the middle of that at 7-5. I'm going 3-5 in the league. I do think they sweep the non-conference schedule, which includes beating Louisville in that finale. I have a loss against Missouri in that swing game I just talked about. I'm a little more bullish on the Tigers. I think with that game being in Week 2, the quarterback situation is just a lot more stable at Missouri with Connor Bazelak established and Kentucky potentially still working things out. So I'm going 3-5 in the league. Those, again, are the 3 bad teams in the East they beat last year, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Vandy. I have them losing at Mississippi State. That's another potential swing game where if they win that and they could beat Missouri, then you're looking at maybe this team can win 9 games again for the second time in 4 years, and that'd be a heck of a season. But I'm going 7-5, 3-5. That might not sound great on paper for Wildcats fans, but you beat Tennessee, you beat Louisville. For Kentucky football, you take that 10 out of 10 times. So that's the Wildcats. Again, they were picked 3rd in the preseason media poll at SEC Media Days. I got them 4th. I have them in the Liberty Bowl against Oklahoma State from the Big 12. They've kind of been bounced around all those Tier 2 SEC bowls. They've been in the Belk Bowl. They've been in the Gator Bowl. They've been in the Music City Bowl. I think they'll head to Memphis this year. Should bring a pretty good crowd against the Cowboys for the Liberty Bowl, should that actually materialize and I actually get one right. So that's the Wildcats. Please comment below what your thoughts are on Kentucky football this season. Please follow me on Twitter at MattSmithCFB. Written preview for the Wildcats is up, of course, at southernpigskin.com. And check out all my other videos previewing the rest of the SEC as we near kickoff for the 2021 season. Thank you all for watching, and I will talk to you soon.